of thought, exploration, and philosophy who have leapt into the pits of the paranormal and found themselves in a vibrant and loving community along the way, who have continuously engendered high quality and lighthearted fun that can otherwise lead to darkness. The bearers of the torch for Grimerica, the radtastic podcast that everyone should know and love, Graham and Darren, welcome to Rogue Ways.
Thank you. Great intro.
Yeah, thank you. Yet another podcast with better introductions than Graham.
I try. I'm glad. You guys probably deserve better than I gave you. But I just want to remind people before you and I get started that everyone listening, if you can go subscribe right now to subscribestar.com/rogue-ways, that will help us all stay connected in times of censorship, and that will be fantastic. And I just started a locals only group, and I'm going to eventually shift everything over to there because they support, it's like all the functionality of like Twitter and Facebook. You can sign up for free, have your profile, connect with people, but you can also have these groups, and it supports subscribers and all of that too. And it's specifically anti-censorship. And I know, I was just always trying to figure out like which platform is best, and Discord is censoring people now. Like even Gmail is kicking people off of their Gmails. Proton Mail is the only one I think that hasn't. Who was it though that surprised me? MailChimp.
MailChimp,
Yeah. Like all these places that have traditionally been somewhat safe are starting to fall to the censorship regime as well. And so locals only is established in order to specifically allow especially speech that seems to be censored to have a place to stand. So I'm pretty excited about it. Hopefully that works. If you want to go join my locals only for free, everybody can have a profile for free and join for free and everything. It's rogue.locals.com. And finally, I just want to remind people that we're doing the Compassion Fund giveaway still. You have a couple more days left until Halloween to enter, and all you have to do is donate to the Compassion Fund. The Compassion Fund is going to be used to support people in our community to get the things that they need as we all see fit. And so you can donate any amount to paypal.me/Corey Sharman, and just note that it's for the Compassion Fund. And if you have a certain prize that you want to enter to win, then just let me know if you want the Organite, if you want one of the books, or what you want, and we'll put you in the drawing for that. So we still have a few more days to enter and get free fun things. Anyways, back to you guys, Darren and Graham. The pointless question of this episode is so random, but it's really cold here, and I really like nice breakfasts when it's really cold out for some reason. And I was wondering what you guys think your favorite breakfast foods or drinks are. What are the best breakfast foods and drinks?
Bacon and pancakes.
Just instant answer. You know where it's at.
Bacon and eggs.
So you agree on bacon?
Yes.
For now.
Maybe bacon, eggs, and pancake could be mixed together.
Oh yeah, that's great. That's the best.
Yeah. I can cook a pretty decent pancake. Actually, pancake big popular with the kids. The syrup's just a little too much for the morning.
What do you mean?
I got enough sugar in my coffee.
Oh yeah.
I like both. I do the sugary coffee and the sugar on my pancakes. And that's why I'm going to die of, diseases. What about drinks? Do you guys go for alcohol with breakfast? Do you drink?
I don't drink at all.
Me either.
No.
Cheers.
No, I like the coffee with a bit of honey in it. That's about it for me.
Ooh, coffee and honey. I've never tried that.
Yeah.
You also don't drink?
No.
Wow, we're a bunch of non-drinkers here. We're so good at taking care of ourselves.
Well, I wouldn't go that far, but
I had a friend who would do a beer, a coffee, an orange juice, a water, and just have all of those at breakfast. And I was like, man, you're good at drinking liquids. Like, this is amazing. Starting out the day with it. Like, anyways, I want you guys, if you would, to tell the listeners out there what, just about Grimerica and how badass it is and what you want them to know about it and how you guys came together to do Grimerica.
Sure. Well, we're just sort of loose cannon podcast from Canada, talking about things and guests that we deem interesting. That was kind of our tagline, right? Isn't it?
It still is.
Yeah, it still is. So just people that we deem interesting, kind of like you in a way, a lot of similar conversations, exploring all kinds of strange topics. I mean, it really boiled down to sort of the war on consciousness. I mean, it all sort of blends together because it's stuff that just won't really get covered properly in the media, whether that's just UFOs or extended consciousness or paranormal or political conspiracies. I mean, whatever it is, ancient mysteries, alternative history, that kind of stuff. And we went to a symposium together. I got him hooked on Mysterious Universe podcast back about 8 years ago, almost. We went to a symposium and we met all these great guests and like that was kind of like ancient mystery type stuff, the pyramids and all that kind of stuff. And we thought, you know what, we should try one of these podcasts. And we thought it was too late at the time. We're like, there's too many out there now. But I think timing was okay.
Graham had to be mostly drug kicking and screaming into a podcast. We really had to sell him on the idea. He took a while.
I did. I was scared of my anonymity, right? Wasn't I?
Yeah, I didn't remember. I got you convinced you to start the website first, but you really didn't do much about just moral support. And then finally, we got you talked in the podcast like 3 months after that. And then at that time, you're still using the pseudonym, so we're still going to call you a possibilionist. And then finally by like month 4.5, you were on board with the podcast. Real name. We were going to interview people. Then away we went.
Yep.
I love
Never
it.
stopped.
So it's an interview style. I can't do it. We can't do it on our own. Neither of us really. I mean, we've become more knowledgeable and talkative after a few years, but I mean, we were just like, no, we want to ask the questions and talk to interesting people and interesting researchers because we don't have any clue ourselves.
You're a fantastic duo though, because you have some buy-in and some skepticism, and together you kind of cover all of those bases, and I like that. That's actually one of the things I love about Mysterious Universe too. That's awesome that we have that podcast in our background. Did you guys actually get to meet Ben and Aaron at that symposium?
Yep, we did.
I'm so jealous.
Yeah, that was fun. Yeah,
I still talk to Ben. Me and Aaron don't get along. I actually just texted Ben last week. It was his birthday.
You and Aaron don't get along.
No,
we're a little too rogue for Aaron, I think.
Yeah.
Or Darren is, anyways.
I spilled my drink on him.
Oh, no.
I'm sure that
was back when he was drinking.
I was drinking.
Yeah. He's like, I need to go home now. This is absurd.
And I signed Ben Grundy's chest. No, he signed my chest. Sorry.
Wait,
that's what
I think I heard about that. I think I was still subscribed when that happened. How long ago was that? That was like 8 years ago.
8 years ago or so, yeah.
Dude, I think I heard about that on their podcast. That is so funny. I had never known that was you. How could I have ever known?
Ask Darren about his Giorgio Tsoukalos story.
That was the same time.
Tell me about Giorgio Tsoukalos.
Giorgio is a real dick. I tried to, Von Daniken was super nice, and his little like secretary dude or whatever you call him, assistant Ramon, was just like the best guy ever. Ramon was great. We got along great. And Giorgio, I tried to talk to him a few times, and he was just like super standoffish. And then he came out and seen me smoking a joint.
He was like, never mind, we're best friends.
And then we were best friends for the rest of the symposium. I was in his hotel room. He was like stopping me in traffic to see what I was up to later. And then when I ran out of weed and the symposium was open, he promptly unfollowed me on Twitter and never spoke to me again.
What an asshole. Oh my God. That's so funny.
But I got to roll with Giorgio for a weekend. I guess I'll take it.
Yeah, true. It's like they say you should like never meet your heroes, right?
Well, I wouldn't go that far.
Oh, that's awesome. Did he have wild and crazy hair?
He did, yeah. Yeah, he was a real character. Yeah, I couldn't. I still.
Well, because you were in Ancient Aliens, like that's one of the things that got Darren interested in a lot of these mysteries and stuff was the Ancient Aliens. I mean, it was pretty good for the first couple seasons there.
He's like the Snoop Dogg. Remember in that old dope smoking movie where they're selling weed to get their other buddy out of jail? I forget what that movie's called now. Dave Chappelle's in it.
Oh, yeah. How high? No, not How High.
And it's the Snoop Dogg.
No, shit.
The Snoop Dogg
Up in Smoke
was the guy who always he always showed up, but he never had any weed of his own. So he'd always just like show up and smoke your weed. So,
dude, how do I not know the name of this movie that I've watched 5
It always ends
times?
up escaping me too. I can never remember
ridiculous.
it. Yeah.
Somebody in the chat will tell us. That's one of the funniest movies of all time. I like it.
So anyway, that's how Giorgio was. Once the weed was gone, Giorgio was gone. That was it. Half-baked.
Thank you. I knew he was in the other room, like screaming it in his mind. That's my boyfriend. He's like, half-baked, you motherfucker. Oh man. Yeah, I still like all of my quotes, movie quotes that I say out loud at random times are either from Half Baked or Jay and Silent Bob. And I didn't even realize it till I went back and watched Jay and Silent Bob. I was like, oh shit, half the things I say are from this movie. It's amazing. So yeah, you guys made this amazing show, and I guess it is very similar. Rogueways and Grimerica have that in common, that we have just kind of endless opportunity. We can talk about anything because we didn't brand ourselves in one category or another. We're just categoryless. But do you have any other aims or goals or themes of the show that kind of hold it all together or keep you going?
No.
Massive fame.
Not really. I mean,
we have the community now. It's like there's a after about like year 3 or 4, there became like a responsibility to this community that started to form. And now at this point, you know, if you go 8 days without an episode, you start getting texts from people or emails or where's the show? What's going on with the show? If you went 2 weeks for sure. So you start to feel like, you know, you owe something to them. And, you know, we've got some people who are nice enough to support us and help us pay some of our bills and stuff. And we'd like that to continue. Otherwise, the show couldn't continue much past that falling off. So, you know, we've kind of got ourselves in a situation now where it's just sort of self-perpetuating. Having 2 people makes a huge difference.
Yeah.
Because the days somebody's not, you know, it seems like one of us is always motivated on something. Because I could see, man, if I was just like down in the dumps or not even down in the dumps, but just I can get preoccupied. And, you know, I could see my preoccupation, but I've always got this sort of responsibility of Graham's booking shows, or one of us is always sort of excited about something to do shows about. And I don't know, we haven't really ever talked about any sort of overarching plan. We've been doing audiobooks. I mean, we've been doing some audiobooks, which is good. So we're publishing some of those on our own, actually.
Yeah,
it'd be nice to eke out a living.
And we've done some for other people.
America somehow would be super.
And it's smart too. You have the equipment and you're ready to go with it.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I was totally going to say something and I lost it. So, I was going to say, I sometimes have days where I'm like, I don't want to do this. Like, I hate this. I just want to sleep, or I just want to like go to this other thing or whatever. And every single time I do it anyway. And every single time when I'm done, I'm like, yeah, that show was badass. Like, and I like energizes me. So it's really weird that it's the only thing I've ever done in my life that is like that, where if I like go to work, I go away feeling even better than when I went in. Never happens with anything else. That's how you know that I'm doing the right thing, right?
Yeah.
So have you guys faced censorship at all? I mean, I think the answer is probably yes at some level, right?
Yeah, it's starting to get to our Instagram, starting to get censored, and they're starting to block they're starting to do some crazy fact checking, which isn't really fact checking. It's just
opinion slapping.
Yeah, making it worse. And then
we got knocked down in iTunes for a while after having Del Bigtree on the first time.
Oh, wow.
And then I couldn't publish any episodes that you couldn't have COVID and cure in the title, or it wouldn't publish anything. So I had to change it and spell it with a Q. And if I spelled cures with a Q, then it would work.
Wow.
Until they shut you down for using a Q.
Did they shut us down? I don't know.
I'm just kidding.
Like,
they'll get
sometimes I forget. I'll hear that there's been this purge on YouTube, and I'll have to like go check to see if the YouTube channel still exists, because we still work full time and stuff. So we're not like super on the ball with, you know, they could shut down our YouTube. We might not notice for 3 or 4. We'd probably,
and we don't really,
someone told us.
And we only use YouTube really for the streaming and for that. Like, we don't have a monetized channel or anything like that. It's really just there. We don't really focus on it. So we've been able to fly under the radar with the audio only, pretty much the audio podcast format, which seems to get a little bit more, has a little bit more resilience to the censors, because people would actually have to just like listen to a bunch of stuff and try and, you know. I feel like that's part of it, is just video, like YouTube's visible for people, you know. Audio, you kind of have to go looking for a little bit more.
Plus, like, well, I guess if iTunes takes you down, you're screwed, because that's like the distributor for every single other podcast app that there is except Stitcher. And I think if you go to SoundCloud, if you're on SoundCloud and you go to SoundCloud directly, or like Spotify directly, but as far as like being able to just grab a podcast, they all come through iTunes. So that would be pretty bad. But I also I have just realized it actually took me a while because I wasn't at first getting stats on my podcast. I was just like, I don't know, probably people listen to it sometimes, whatever. And then finally, when I started doing SoundCloud as the host for the files, now I can tell all the people who are listening to it. I'm like, wow, there's way more people listening to the podcast than watching the YouTube, like way more. And I had no idea that was true.
Yeah, that's what we found
like
too.
100 to 1.
Yeah.
100 to 1 or so.
Yeah, that's why that's why I started talking to you people who are listening on the podcast. I really hope that you come through with the Subscribe Star, the locals only channel, just to connect and stay connected. Because like I said, if something went wrong, I don't know. I kind of trust SoundCloud. I'm sure I shouldn't, but so far they haven't.
No, you shouldn't. You shouldn't trust. You shouldn't trust SoundCloud, because I don't think. I'm surprised SoundCloud's still around now, to be perfectly frank. I mean, I told Graham to stop paying SoundCloud money years ago because I've been expecting them to go out of business for a while.
Yeah.
But it stayed, yeah.
It's still around, but I still stand by Libsyn, Liberated Syndication, just because I don't know. That's just who we have a relationship with. I've heard really good things about Blueberry as well. I mean, there's always, we're sort of propped up to start self-hosting if we need to, so we can just move all the audio onto our own servers. I mean, once you get to a certain point, I mean, it would suck to get kicked out of all those places, but we've almost got a big enough audience. As long as you got that RSS feed, which with audio is super easy to generate. Yeah. I mean, you can throw it on a hard drive in your basement if you want, or a little server box. And I mean, it wouldn't be fast for people to download. It'd be a real pain in the ass, but it should work. But I mean, we've got server space tucked away. We're ready to go just in case. It's just a pain in the ass because the RSS feed would change.
That's
true. I haven't seen anything at Libsyn that lends me to believe we've got anything to worry about, but you know, we're prepared just in case, and that's kind of what we're marching toward. Is we got the chats, the websites, and all that are already on the servers. I mean, I've got copies of all the audio already. We've got people all around the world that have downloaded the back catalog and the video back catalog, and we're content with people uploading that wherever they want. So we've got people making those available via torrent and all these other weird avenues that I've never even heard of. You know, I got my buddy I in Finland will say, I put the show here. All the videos are here now. And it's like, I don't even know what that is, but thanks.
That's awesome.
And the other thing is our sort of business model allows for that.
Yeah.
You know, if it was an ad-based show or something like that, you kind of get possessive over the content, where it's like, well, no, if they're not listening to it here and blah blah blah, then it's a problem. But we're just, as long as our ad thing isn't a commercial that's easy to cut out, it's sort of baked in. The value for value model would be very hard to circumvent it out of the show somehow.
Yeah.
So as long as people are listening to the show, they're going to hear us say that URL and hopefully check out the show. And that's been working so far.
How's locals so far? That's Dave Rubin's thing, right?
Yeah, I just started it yesterday, so I have one person in there. Yeah, so that's why I have it up on the screen right now, which I normally don't have anything on the screen. But I just, because I've been doing Subscribe Star. I love it, but I can't share as much content. They have like limits on everything, how big you can upload and like how long, and I don't really love that. And it's just not dynamic. Like people can't really interact with each other as much. Whereas locals, it's like everything is all there. So people can hang out there, whether you're, you know, providing content or not. And it just seems like it'll be a cool place. And like I said, anything's up for sudden, you know, deletion or cancellation, or if that's the way the owners go, or if they get pressured, or who knows what goes on behind the scenes. But I just feel like that might be a good way for now. And I like how dynamic it is and how many, you know, services are built into it. But, you know, Freeman Fly has been having to host his own audio for his podcast for a long time, because anything he tries, he gets shut down. And so I've had to go in and manually download every single episode of his that I've ever listened to. But I was hosting my own audio files on my website. And that was where the podcast was coming from. And it was still, you know, through iTunes was syndicating it out to all the other apps and everything. But something mysteriously went wrong that no tech person, no website builder, like SEO master, whatever, like all these people who get paid money to do this, like no one can figure out how to fix it. The people who host it can't figure out how to fix it. Like no one knows what happened. So I'm like, well, that's very convenient. That seems to happen to me all of the time. So that went to shit, which is when I started using SoundCloud, because I was like, that was free. Like, I didn't have to pay anybody. I just had it on. I already had a site and I just got to host it there, but axed somehow, and no one can fix it. They're like, well, you might be able to fix it if you rip down your whole site and start from scratch. And I'm like, yeah, but that would be how many days of work? And then it could just happen again since no one knows what happened.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, it's good to have a newsletter too, or some sort of, that's sort of what we tell people is our lifeline.
yeah,
Because
that's a
if
good
the
point.
show gets fucking axed everywhere, it's going to be hard to say anything to you guys. So we can send out an email probably. I mean, the website will always be up too. That's the other bonus we've got is the website is standalone. So
It's been pretty shocking how bad the censorship's getting, really. I mean, whether it's about, the laptop or healthy vitamin C or holistic doctors. I mean, I can't believe the amount of truth that they're just scrubbing and pushing lies. I mean, it's just it's unbelievable. I can't believe they're getting away with it.
I can't believe how many people are just going along with it happily, cheering it on. Like, yeah, censorship is great when it's about the things that I don't want people to know. I'm like, you don't see any problem with that? Like, and who was it that was so funny? They were like, oh, it was Sacha Baron Cohen or whatever. That's not his name.
Yeah. It was him because he was upset that he was getting censored after he's the one that was kind of anti-free speech for a while.
Yeah, he was cheering on the censorship of, I think, Hunter Biden's laptop stuff. I don't even know, or COVID stuff. I don't know, something like that. And then he posted something and it got censored. And he was like, "Why are you censoring me?" You're like, we're telling people to get censored. Like, what? How does that?
Yeah,
make
they
sense?
come for you. They come for you. They don't even see that it's going to happen. That it's not sustainable. That you can't do it. That's why the free speech thing is so important.
It's like the people who date the boyfriend who cheated on their wife or their whoever, and they're like, "Oh yeah, that's great," and then like they cheat on them, and they're like, "What? I'm brokenhearted." And you're like, "That's what they did for you. Why wouldn't they do it to you?" That's who they are. Believe them.
That's funny. I remember a specific example of that for me. And when I was young, I was like, I just never trusted her. I was like, because she cheated on him with me.
Yeah. See?
So I never trusted her.
Did she cheat on you?
Yeah.
You knew it.
Yeah. And I was ready for it. It was kind of a self-fulfilling thing, but I was like, okay, well, there it is. So I'm gone.
Yeah. Like, well, I proved it to myself.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's getting really crazy out there. There's, like I said, that MailChimp thing blew me away, that MailChimp would, a paid subscription, that they would cancel that. This was, I think, for Christian, the Ice Age farmer, who does really good work too. And it's just rampant. It's everywhere. And both my Facebook profiles got banned, and they didn't even pretend like there was a reason why. They're just like, yeah, you can't come in anymore. I'm like, okay. Bye-bye. It sucks.
We're still
I
on
always
Facebook
said,
too. Yeah.
yeah,
No
I
problems.
always say that I'll try to stick around with any of these mainstream platforms as long as possible, because that's where people are. And like the whole point for me is to try to reach as many people as possible, not because I need their money or whatever, but because I want to try and get more people just thinking and aware and, involved in like, oh yeah, that is really weird that they would shut down like only this side of things and not let anyone think about stuff like, hi, I wonder what's going on, like, and you can't do that if you're just in your corner with your people who are already in agreement with you, which is going to be the downside of locals. Honestly, I don't know how you would go out like trying to reach other people on Facebook. I had this huge list of all these people, and all of their friends could see it once they commented on it. And then you could possibly reach people who have never, ever thought of this thing before. And same with YouTube. I feel the same. It's like, it's big enough that someone could stumble on, the way they do the algorithms and search. And like,
especially YouTube, because of the SEO stuff. I mean, that's how a lot of people find the show, because the YouTube pops up as a search. But I mean, I've heard Dave talk about locals being good in another way, or I think it was Michael Malice talking about how free it is to be talking to those people who are there just to support you, so you can say whatever you want, take it to the next level kind of thing, or get their input. Actually, I think it was, who was talking about it, and they were surprised. Was it might have been Scott Adams, actually. I think it was Scott Adams, saying that he got so much feedback from all the group, them providing more information, that at first he was like, whoa. And then he started to accept all this extra, all the content that the people were sharing with him.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. So it sounds like it's still got a good potential, even though you're kind of in a bubble of your own supporters.
But it's yeah, I think that's exactly it. It'll have some really nice benefits, and it'll be a really easy transition over from some of these other platforms because of that community interaction aspect. And I have a group on Facebook. It's called Eyes Open, but if Facebook isn't going to let me participate in my own group and my own profiles, then I'm not going to put more energy into that. So locals will be a nice replacement for that, because it's exactly like you said. People in there will share all kinds of content that I might not otherwise see if I'm really busy or if I'm just not looking in those certain areas at that time. And it's just a nice way to keep everybody kind of with our fingers on various pulses and connected. And also not everyone in there agrees on not everyone in there agrees on most things. And so it's nice to see kind of a plethora of opinions as well, which I like about having a community. I'm sure you guys get that as well. Sometimes you're like, okay, didn't want to know that, but now I do. And sometimes you're like, wow, thank you. That's very helpful.
Our community's out of control.
Yeah. Like they need muzzles. Oh, wait, we have those now. We have to wear them.
Not all of us.
Yes, I don't. I had these people come work on this. These people I work for, I was over helping someone work on their house for them, and they had their masks on, and I was like, I don't want to be rude or anything, which is a really weird way to preface this. But I'm like, but you don't have to wear those masks if you don't want to. I'm not going to wear one, so do whatever you want. And they're like, oh, they kind of make us. And I was like, yeah, I get it. And they're like, but we'll take it off if you're not going to say anything. I'm like, I'm not going to say anything. And they both just like ripped off their masks. They were like, oh. I was like, man, I just get a shirt on that just says, you don't have to wear your mask around me for my sake. If you want to wear it, cool.
Yep.
I won't wear a mask for anybody's sake.
Exactly. Well, and have people said this to you then, Darren, where they're like, how dare you? Like, why won't you think about other people and what they need and just wear it for them? And it's like,
today?
why don't they not wear it for me? Why don't they not wear it because I like it?
I just don't care. That's not my problem. If I was in the business of helping people, I guess, and I'm not against helping people. I mean, if it comes up, I might help someone, but I don't think I should have to wear a mask all day to make other people feel safe. I'm just not willing to do it. It's not going to happen. I was in first aid the other day, and buddy's like, can you wear a mask? And I was just like, no.
No, I can't. Good. Yeah.
It was like, okay.
Even if they worked, I don't even agree that it's a solution. Even if they worked, I don't think it should be required.
Hopefully
so
I didn't kill love deep.
That's a really good point.
Yeah.
That's a good point, Graham. And they don't work. And we know they don't work.
No, and they don't. But I mean, even if they did, even if the distancing and the mask worked, I still don't agree with it, because, you're trying to, I don't want to get into it too deep, but
go deep.
You're fighting a losing battle, You should just be open for business and not, just because of the business aspect, but
deeper.
But also
should be open.
Deeper. But also our immune systems, if this is a real virus that's going around and people are actually transmitting it person to person or whatever, our immune systems need to encounter these things, especially, in their early stages, before they learn if this is how viruses work, before they learn how to attack us better. We need to learn how to attack them in their infancy.
Yeah,
right? That's part of it.
Yeah, we should be, increasing our vitamin D and vitamin C and zinc and all these things that help us. And get some sun and get outside, breathe some fresh air. Like, it should be just, this is what the prescription should be, not wait till the vaccine, until everything goes back to normal. It's just ridiculous.
And huge amounts of fear, which like reduce your immune functioning by who knows how much.
Yeah, that too. Yep.
It's absurd. Yeah, get it over with. It's funny, though, because now the people who are like, herd immunity is, you have to get the vaccine so we can get to herd immunity. And now we're saying, like, okay, let us do herd immunity then. Let people get it. They're like, no, herd immunity is horrible. I'm like,
exactly.
You assholes.
You can't have it both ways.
Yeah, you just pick and choose what you want to do. So how many dirty socks have you guys gotten?
Not a lot.
Really?
8.
Exactly 8. Wow. Do you have them hanging up on a wall somewhere, just in order?
I kept one pair.
You're like, these are nice socks.
It's only good if they come with weed. I mean, people didn't get it. They really didn't get it. More people than I expected sent actual dirty socks. Just disappointing. But I mean, I can't complain. We've got more weed. No one will care. We got more weed in the mail than I fucking ever thought would be possible.
It's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
People are like, screw it. Let's do this.
I just got this shirt today.
Oh, awesome. Did somebody
From,
design it themselves or?
Marks.com.
Yeah.
Marks with an
Marx, marx.com. He sent us a bunch of stickers and great, amazing artwork.
Playing cards and shirts and all sorts of stuff. Yeah.
That's rad. Good job, Marks. Yeah, see,
I
that's
got a
the
sweet
reason.
Dune shirt in the mail a while back too. Is this the best? I was saying to Graham before the show, shirts are the best stuff to get in the mail randomly.
Dude, okay, now I have to show you what I just got today. This is what someone sent me. This is a Guanyin statue. I know. I was like, this is so nice. And I put it up on my little altar. So gifts, I'm like, I didn't ever expect to really get gifts from anybody, but it's very, very sweet.
It's a weird little side effect. Yeah, I can't even begin to count all the weird little things we got in the mail. I mean, we got a Schumann resonator here.
Wow, really? What is that?
I don't know. You just turn it on and a blue light comes on.
Who knows what it does? So, and then have you decided finally what if synchros are good or bad or real or bullshit, or have you had any good ones?
Yeah, I've had amazing ones, but I think they're great. But I haven't had a lot lately, actually. And maybe it's the COVID.
No kidding. No,
COVID's a synchro killer.
Let yourself slide, and you're fucking addicted to the COVID news cycle. This is a problem.
I'm not. No, I'm not.
Your third eye's fogged up with COVID.
No.
Yeah.
You're into synchro suppressor.
You're in too deep. Your synchros are suppressed. We need to get you out. I thought Thrive 2 might do that, actually, but we got to watch a couple of those in a row.
Yeah.
Yeah, how was Thrive 2? I just saw that you guys had.
It was fantastic. Yeah.
Intervention.
Yeah.
The election should clear things up, or it could just make it much worse.
Either way, it'll be a different.
We'll give it another week, and we'll see which way you're going after.
It'll be a new normal either way.
Either way. Yeah. Hopefully it's back to normal.
That's true. No? It's in a week from today. We'll know. I'll be doing a show and I'll be. Did you guys see this ridiculous commercial where this woman goes into her child who's sleeping cozy in his bed and she wakes him up and she's like, "You told me to wake you of the election." And he's like, "Who won, mama?" Like he's like the sweet, like too sweet to exist. And she's like, Trump won. And he's like, "I thought they could only win twice, mama." She's like, "Not anymore." And I'm like, what? This is a commercial. This commercial is trying to scare us about 4 years in the future from now. This kid isn't even like realistic. No child is like that. What kid is like, "Wake me up for the election, mom"? I'd be like, dude, you need to go to therapy. Like, what's wrong with you?
My kids don't have a clue about the
politics.
Election or politics. They know that they tell me COVID's fake and they don't want to wear a mask. They're clued in on COVID a little bit just because it's like affecting them in some level. They can't ignore it, but other than that, they're pretty oblivious.
As they should be. They're children. Like, why are they worried about this?
Oh, I mean, I don't. All should be.
I'm like, yeah, you're right, and I'm totally into like, you know, tell your kids things and be honest with them and don't like hide them in a bubble. But at the same time, there's never going to be a reason they need to understand politics ever. Like we don't even need, like you said, we don't even need to be tapped into it. Like definitely not them. Let's protect them at least from that inane bullshit.
I see very little evidence that the television has done any good.
Yeah, tell me more.
Well, I don't think, I don't think news has ever been news. I think it's the news especially has always been propaganda, like state-sponsored sort of the free market kind of allows this weird thing where the government can just sort of do stuff and pretend they're not doing stuff. And I think that's kind of what's been going on with the news networks. And now everyone just knows that, right? It's just in 2020, it's common knowledge that the news networks are bought and paid for, at least for half the population it is, or maybe a little more, give or take. But for a bunch of us, we know the news is fake, and you know, Hollywood isn't what we think it is. It's, you know, manipulating us on a small level, and so are all the little sitcoms you're watching, and then there's all the professional sports are doing the same shit,
the
movies and the video games, and I just don't see. I think there was a golden age, don't get me wrong, like I think, and I could be naive on that too, but it seems like there might have been some time when they just, maybe the technology wasn't there, or the psychology wasn't there, or maybe I'm just naive, but it seems like, you know, in the the 80s and 90s, those movies were coming out at such a pace that, and it doesn't seem as apparent as it does nowadays. But I mean, everything in the last 5 or 10 years is trash anyway, in my opinion. But what I noticed when I started walking away from first cable and then movies, and then, like I still watched a couple episodes of The Office last night. That's The Office is one of my go-tos. I'll watch that. And I got a hunting show that I watch, and I watch that alone show once in a while, but I try and keep my video, under 2 hours a week for sure. Like definitely under 2 hours a week. If I can keep it under one, that's even better. And it's not like a hard rule or anything like that, but I just noticed that A, I get a lot more done, and B, my brain just sort of works better. And I'm sort of supplementing or offsetting all that extra time with, I listen to a ton of audiobooks. Like I'm not even doing much podcast now. I listen to tons and tons and tons of fiction audiobooks. And I just find that when I'm doing that, I can't really disengage, or I can't numb out, or my brain's always sort of working. It's creating this whole imaginative universe in the background, like all these different series I've read. I can picture this universe in my mind that's created, and no one else sees that. That's just for me. And I think that's just like it's a certain exercise in imagination that you're not getting with video. And I think it's like I've noticed that my brain just works a little differently the less video I'm watching. And I'm coming from someone that 10 years ago was watching 4 hours a day.
Wow, that's a huge change. Yeah, this audio is really great for that, actually. And even if you were doing nonfiction, I think it's the same, because when you're listening, you have to construct in your mind what's going on in order to understand it. So you're practicing visualization at some level, and like you said, that's helping your brain work in really fantastic ways that you're not doing with TV. In fact, TV has the opposite effect, right, where it shuts you down into, I don't remember which brainwave state, but it's the one that's akin to sleeping, right? You're like basically hypnotizing yourself. And audiobooks are the opposite. Audio in general is the opposite, where you're then constructing, and so you're actually in an active state.
And after a bunch of audiobooks and series, like honestly, you try and watch a movie and it just seems cheap.
Oh yeah,
it's like how like
messaging everywhere.
When you're doing books that are 20 or 30 hours, and maybe they're part of a 3 or a 4 or an 8-part series or something like that, and then you go and watch a movie and you're just kind of left with all these questions, and it's just it's just, I don't know. I find, what I do still like TV for is like the stuff that's nice to visualize, like I say, the hunting stuff, the good sitcom comedy still. Like there's still like The Office is a good example, Arrested Development, the first few seasons of that. Yeah, cool. Some of this just like, and everyone's got their own little priceless sort of shows that they've got, and I don't think there's any problem with that. I'm not saying that no one should be watching anything ever, but I'm saying right. If you're against the machine, you can't be going to watch every new movie that comes out, and you can't be watching the football game every Sunday. You can, but it's pretty hard to do it while separating from it. It's just a bit harder. It's sort of the same argument as you can't keep going to Walmart if you don't want Walmart to be the biggest company on earth.
Or you don't want China.
Can't keep using Amazon. If you don't want them to be the biggest company on earth. And it works the exact same way, and maybe even on a higher level with your attention, because you can always make more money, but you only get so much attention. You got so much like free attention that you don't have to focus on other things. And there's some things in life that are way, 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 way more important than others. And the TV really starts to fog up what that might be.
Yeah. It's a really good point.
To the point that we're willing to not go see our loved ones because the TV tells us it's bad. And that's not just from watching the news. That's from watching TV for every day for a long, long, long time. And you just come to trust this little box in your wall.
Yeah. And
we're seeing it so much right now, right? I mean, I watched news the other day for the first time, and holy shit, was it ever scary. They're just fear monger. They're all in the COVID. Unbelievable. Disgusting. It was shocking.
It's just
almost traumatizing.
all the time. It's just like counting deaths, and you're like, oh shit, things are bad. Like, no, they're not. But it's crazy. And then you try to talk to someone who's saturated in that, and you try to share with them, like, well, what about this thing, this idea over here? And they're like confused. They're like, well, what? Like, that can't, they didn't tell me that, so it must not be important. Like, they're just, and
it's not like they don't believe you. They believe you. A lot of people trust you or me that we're not just making stuff up. Yeah. But they can't go there. They can't really like watch it and absorb it. They'll be like, yeah, okay, that's interesting, that makes sense, but they can't really take that and put that other one aside.
It is, and it's so engrossing. Like you said, you can't really separate yourself from it. It's a really good point. And I started watching football a while ago, and I had never been into football, and I always watch people watching it and be like, what the hell is going on over there? But I was like, well, I should watch it. Like, my family loves it, and these people are like, I'll just watch it. Who cares? Like, it's just football. And then I started getting like really excited when touchdowns happened, and like so angry when they didn't. And I was like, holy shit. Like, I've only watched like 2 of these things, and I'm like emotionally invested in this shit. Like, it matters. It's insane. Me, like, I've always been critical of these things and media and whatever, and I got sucked in. So you're absolutely right. I think even even those of us who know and are like, okay, I'm going to watch this critically, and I'm going to be like removed, and I'm going to think about whatever, like, you can do it to an extent, and to another extent you're going to get mind controlled by it, whether you like it or not.
Well, it's not only that. I don't think the spirit world knows the difference between it's not so much with the watching and the stuff like that, but it's like I always push back on Graham with the like talking about COVID too much, or you're just like, because I believe in a lot of metaphysical shit. So, and it's like this grand placebo where it's like, I feel like these crazy people running the place, and we know they're occultists and stuff like that just from the shit they do at CERN and the Olympics and stuff like that. I mean, if you don't think the people that are in charge of whatever they're doing, I mean, we don't have to say it's a conspiracy and Illuminati, but the people that are running the oligarchy that is the earth seem to be crazy occultists.
Yes.
And they seem to want the entire planet focusing on COVID-19 and mass and everything else. And I think pushing back on that, if it won't fuck with their plan. If they're trying to get something out of this mass,
pushing back
won't. No, it's the same thing as saying I don't want to be broke. You know, that mantra will just get you more broke.
You're still saying and broke, and those are the only
need more money. I need more money. I'll never get you more money. You need to, or I can't this, or I won't that. It doesn't work. That doesn't pick up on that negative, the negative whatever before it. So I just think like
there's no negation in the universe.
Yeah, I honestly think I'm at the point now where I think with some of this stuff, it's, and I've come full circle on voting. I mean, 5 or 6 years ago, I was telling people, if you don't vote, shut the fuck up. You don't get to bitch. And now I'm like, no, if you're voting, you're giving them consent.
And I was the opposite.
And now I walk into the voting thing and I write fucking fascists on the ballot and throw it in, and that's it. Because that's what I think, I think you come to this point where you just got to not consent and not pay attention. Like not
participate.
Not pay attention. It's nearly impossible in 2020. Like, I know where Biden's at, and we're talking about, I'm actively trying to avoid all this stuff, but you can't help it. I see the new Trump ad, or they're dragging Biden's dead body around, and I got to watch that. And the next thing you know, I'm going through comments and I'm down this thing, and I'm, 10 minutes has gone by and I'm like, fuck, Jesus, Darren, what are you doing? And you know what normally gets me off Twitter if I get into because what I try and do is I never leave my ads. Because then I'm kind of try and keep it internalized into the community still in some way, but I'll catch myself, click, 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 and the next thing you know, and I'll feel my pressure. I mean, I don't know what to explain it otherwise, this weird sort of blood pressure coming in. And then it's like, I know I'd be on Twitter too long. I can feel it's fucking affecting my person and my blood pressure. And I can imagine the news is doing that to people, and Twitter and Facebook, and if you just fucking know that feeling I'm talking about, that's, to me, is a clear indicator that you're doing something you shouldn't be doing. If it's not, it's not making you feel good. It's not serving you.
And then my argument is like, we have to talk about it because we have to try and expose at least some of the hypocrisy in the lies for some people. I mean, you can't just ignore it, sweep it under the rug, put your head in the sand or whatever. Maybe try and detach with or practice non-attachment with appreciation or whatever, not get sucked into that. But it's challenging. It's tough. I mean, I'm, like addicted to my YouTube and the little videos that I watch and podcasts, and I still try and practice the attachment, but it's tough. But I still think it's important to talk about it because we have to. I mean, I don't know. I feel like we have to say something about it because it's just all you have to do is look at the official stats. It's not like we have to come up with a bunch of crazy hypotheses. Look at the official data. Doesn't make sense. There's a lot that just doesn't make sense at the surface level.
I'm right with you guys actually, and I'm right in the middle. I agree with both of you, and I think you're both right. And I also want to thank the Erie Fairy for the super chat. Thank you so much, Erie Fairy. And by the way, Erie Fairy was pointing out that It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia is a good one to watch. And
I saw her. I saw somebody mention Arrested Development as well.
I think I've seen all those Sunnies. Yeah, fuck, some of those are fucking hilarious.
I just started watching It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, like literally this week. So.
Oh yeah, the first 9 seasons are gold.
I can't believe there's more than 9. That's crazy.
Yeah, see, and that's a great show. And I mean, I think that's another thing that's good to have. You just don't want to get into that thing where it's like get home from work and the TV comes on and then it's like on until bed, and it's like a movie, then a show, then maybe another movie or a couple more shows, you're
Facebooking at the same time, so your
it's just
split.
And it's a lot of stimulation, and it's just a whole bunch of stuff that isn't serving your best interest. I wouldn't say is, and I mean, I don't know. I'm not saying that I got anything figured out, but. I don't think you should pay attention to the fucking debates and stuff. I think that's the worst possible way you could spend your time.
It's exactly like, you're saying your thoughts and your intentions and your emotions and your actions, these are all manifesting something in the universe. So if you're just giving them away to mindlessness and you're letting these elites direct them into whatever esoteric occult like bullshit they're doing, so it's probably very dark and twisted. Then you're supporting that and you're creating that. But if you can possibly consume some of it while not giving it too much emotion, especially, and not a lot of your intention, then maybe that can be really good. Like you were saying, Graham, especially to help share with other people different perspectives or like bring light to certain things. But yeah, you can take that attention back and imagine all the stuff, like you were saying, you could be way more productive, and also you can be more productive like within yourself and your life. Like you could be sitting there visualizing the things that you do want to see. Like I just was the other day, heard all this dark winter shit, dark winter, that like it's going to be so cold and all the food is going away and dark winter and we're all going to die. And I'm like, we've been like programmed with this so heavily with like Game of Thrones and all of these, precursor things that were dark wintering our brains, and now they're saying it and they're trying to trigger it. And I'm like, I'm going to purposely every day sit here and imagine just a bright, wonderful winter where everyone's happy, everyone's thriving, and like try to undo some of that. Because Jesus, it's probably going to be really effective for a lot of people. Or probably that's their next thing that they're like pouring their fear into.
It's not only that, isn't if that is where you're at and you think the dark winter's coming, and it's like watching all the YouTube videos and being right up to date on the latest Facebook posts or, the latest news conference or the latest Biden speech isn't helping you prepare for a dark winter either. It's just like,
yeah, but it is good to see what's you kind of got to know what's to prepare. I mean, you got to know what's happening to prepare.
Me and not caring, I'm busy preparing.
Well, maybe. Maybe,
So you'll know when the world is over, but you can come over here and I'll read you.
Yeah, I'll just be
going over there.
I'll be here like 5 minutes before it ends.
Yeah. Hey man,
it's happening. It's all happening.
Yeah, it's all happening. Lock the doors. Load the guns.
No, because I mean, a lot of stuff is coming to light. I mean, there's been a lot of light shining on a lot of evil shit that's been happening over the last few. So I can't deny that that's not cheddar. I mean, there's, especially right now, there's so much, the light being shone on corruption that people have hidden for a long time. It's at a different level now. So people are going to wake up, regardless of however it is, they're going to wake up sooner or later here.
And that's like part of this process of shedding all of that, as dark as it might be, to realize, if you've never thought of it before, that these people like have sex with children or do other horrible things. Once you can deal with that emotionally and like get past it, like you'll never go back. You'll never be like, oh man, I gotta like really be hooked into this election cycle and whatever. I think it's a dark way to wake up, but it's very effective. Or it sends you further and deeper into denial and disassociations.
Yeah.
I don't think the government is, I don't think the elections are real either. So this is another reason why it's just a giant waste of your time. I mean, if you look at, and I
used to be the conspiratorial one.
You can say, yay, Clinton left and Bush right and Obama left and, oh no, Trump right. But if you just take the last like 100 years of U.S. policy, to use the U.S. as an example, I mean, it's clearly going in one direction. They keep arguing about the same social issues back and forth, which is strange. And the social issue has ticked along. I'm not saying we haven't made any progress in the last 100 years, but name one of those fucking progresses that the government did.
Yeah.
The government didn't do any of them. The people did it. The people decided to stop being racist because they didn't think it was. If anything, the government fucking lagged behind on all of it. All of it. The government didn't change any of that stuff. So if you just look at, so they're not changing the social policies. We're doing that as we just become less ignorant, it would seem. And if you just look, you go left and right and left and right and left and right and left and right. And what keeps happening? You keep gobbling up the world's resources. You keep taking over the world at the tip of a gun. You keep doing regime change. Now, as people argue Trump hasn't done that, and I'll say, okay, so far I haven't seen that. I'll agree. But that's basically what's been going on for the last 100 years. And they might be willing to stop that for 4 years just to trick us into something more sketchy, which is exactly what I think's going on. But I don't think it matters who the fuck you vote for. They've decided who can best distract us or keep us at each other's throats or keep us, preoccupied while they ram $5 trillion through for their buddies. So they can all buy a bunch of shit before the dollar's worthless.
Yeah. I'm 90% with you, and especially at the federal level, at least. And local elections, I have some hope that like some things happen and change, and so I usually tend to vote in those. And then I actually always vote in the federal election, but I almost never vote for anyone that anyone would think that would count. And I instantly rescind my consent spiritually. I'm like, that wasn't consent. I'm just saying, if you're going to force this on me, I'm going to choose this one. But I don't know if any of that works. That's just what I do.
I'm a big believer in local politics. I'm trying to convince Graham to run for local politics with me.
Yeah.
Because you know what it is? It's at the party level where I have a huge problem. I can go be on the town council. I don't have to say I'm this or that or the fucking otherwise.
That's true.
Yeah. I mean, once you get to the federal level, independence just a joke. It's just a waste of time. It's just, whatever. But at the city level, you're talking about 6 or 7 people. So if you can get, 2 of us can go cause a ruckus at least.
It's at a different level now, though. I mean, the Great Reset is upon us. It is upon us. They're being overt about it. It's happening. There's 99% of people out there wearing masks when they don't have to.
It's true.
It's happening. It's right now. It's happening. We're in the long form of 9/11. And I don't know if Trump's going to help it or not. Maybe not. Maybe. But the global New World Order is taking over as we speak. It's happening. So, and it feels like Trump is in their way. Now, I'm not saying he is or not, whatever. Maybe this politics doesn't matter. Maybe this time it's different. Maybe last 4 years has been different. Maybe he slipped through like some people theorize. But it feels like he's in their way.
It does.
It might be all theater, but maybe it's not. I'm still like in the middle. I don't know what to think, but all I know is that they're trying really hard to take over the globe right now.
When will you know?
We're starting to lock down now locally again. Well, I don't know. Maybe give me 3 to 6 months
after the election.
Yeah.
Only if he wins, though.
No, we'll find out either way.
Either way.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll hold you that. What's 6 months from today?
It's like I feel like we're gonna know a lot. I mean, who knows? This is always like going on and on and on. But I feel like we're gonna know a lot more in February, like the middle of the darkest part of the winter.
Let's do my birthday.
What's your birthday?
March 10th.
Let's do March 10th. By Darren's birthday, I will have a solidified opinion on. I'm not for that fence walking.
I'm the same way with Trump as I am with the whole thing in general, where I'm like 90% sure he's got to be a piece of trash to have gotten to where he is, and totally against like all what we hold, sacred on, especially like the spiritual level. But I have that part of me that I'm like, I don't technically know. I can't really know. I don't know if it's possible for me to know. So I'm going to hold the possibility that he is a good guy and that he's standing in the way of all of this. And there's a lot of indications that it could be true. So we'll see, but I don't need to like stake anything on it. So it's fine for me to not have a full opinion either way, right?
Yeah.
As long as you don't let him rest on your laurels because you think he's going to save the world.
Yeah,
that's just the problem. Or be it apology for him because you think he's going to save the world. And I mean, this is coming from somebody who told everybody to vote for Trump 4 years ago, just for some context. Like I was fully on the fucking Trump train thinking he was going to save the world.
It's so interesting how many people flopped completely from one side to the other on both sides. Like,
but I didn't flop to the hate Trump either. I just flopped to the, oh no, they got me.
Yeah.
Like this thing that I had figured out was bullshit and knew was bullshit. And then they got me back in and it was just like, oh, I see what you did there.
And that's the worst
you fucking appealed. You got me.
Yeah.
You appealed to me. I see you always appealing to all these other demographics. And this time you got my demographic. And I just got caught up in it. And I just pulled myself back out. I'm not back to, Trump's evil and Biden will save the world. No. I'm back to they're both fucking politicians who are working for their owners and don't have any of your fucking shit in heart. And everything they tell you is just lip service.
See,
and just that to me is the main thing is look at just all the great things that have happened to society in the last 100 years in the West and tell me what of them the government initiated.
It's a good point. It's a good point. I definitely agree. I was a communist for a while, and I was definitely anti-government for most of my life. And then all of a sudden, I was like, Bernie Sanders might save the world, though. And I was like, I'm gonna buy shirts and like tell people to vote, and I'll vote for him. It's gonna be great. And then I'm like, oh my god, like, how did that happen to me? How did I get sucked into that again? You know what did it though? It was a fucking bird. Little bird like flew down and landed on his podium, and I'm like, how do you fake that? Mother Nature is behind Bernie Sanders. Like, that was ridiculous. That's what got me. Made me feel like an idiot. But it's interesting that they can get even people like us back into some aspect of the game. And that's why I'm even more wary than I've ever been. I'm like, okay, maybe Trump's okay, but I'm not doing a Bernie Sanders again. I'm not going all in and being like, yeah, this is the guy who's going to do it. I mean, like, yeah, no one's really going to do it probably. And like you said, we should, not rest back and just expect someone else to do it ever. We should just be doing what we want to and doing what
historically, when we stop fighting with each other, we start cutting their heads off. And that's the last thing they'll ever have happen. So it'll be black against white, against brown, against man, against woman, against old, against young, against whatever the fuck. Just don't look up here. And don't take our, come looking for handouts.
That's true. Keep us divided and we'll always forget to attack them. So what can we do and what should we do?
I mean, we went from Occupy Wall Street to like last year we had a bunch of like all the corporations have BLM floats and we went from hang the bankers to the banks having floats at the parades.
Yeah. And people being like, this is the best. That's what someone's like, you really think you're raging against the system when the system is behind you?
Look what they did with Occupy Wall Street in 10 years? They completely flipped it on its head so that now, suddenly we're all on not all of us, but, everyone's on the side of the very people they were rallying against 10 years ago.
Yeah. Literally like celebrating them. It is very, very interesting. So what do you guys think we should do? What are the answers?
Cancel your cable if you have it. Cancel all of it. Just don't limit it all. Limit all your intake. And you don't have to like stick your head in the sand. You still pay a little bit. It's good to have a buddy like Graham. I mean, we have a great dynamic. He can keep me informed when stuff's coming up, and I can like pay attention. Like, I think it's a real good time to like learn inward and focus on what you can do to be better, or maybe
discernment,
just spending more time with your family and your kids. And, you know, because this is like a trial soft run where I can still go to Graham's house and he can still come here. I mean, the next time, if Graham's right, that might not be an option in 3 years. It might be the point where you might not get to go see people anymore. So it's, you know, I would argue you should be doing that, which is against all the protocols. And just be prepared. I mean, just because I'm not paying attention, I still got a ton of food, and I got, you know, I'm
he's more prepared than me by far, skill wise and prep wise. You know, he's actually doing the work, like going out and killing his meat, canning foods, trading for vegetables. I mean, he's doing all of that. I'm completely disabled when it comes to fending for myself.
Which is, to me, is how you rally against the system. Is you just, it's like, you know, because I want to fly on planes, and they're real strict about the masks on planes. So I got a doctor's note. And if they start fucking around with vaccines, I'll find a fake document or a fake doctor or a crooked doctor or a doctor that I can blackmail somehow or something. I'll figure out something, because if it's that far gone, then I don't really need to. Then I need to worry about getting me and mine through it, so that we can continue participating. And it just becomes a simple little civil disobedience in some ways, and in other ways it's just not taking part. It's like, okay, well, the grocery store is a gong show. Well, I'll just make it so that I just never have to go there. And they're fucking around with the beef plant, so I'll just make it so that their little tweaks and things can affect me as much as possible. Like, I don't give a fuck what they do. I don't care if it's wall-to-wall politics on the television right now, because my television's never on. So it's not getting in. If I could this is the problem. Is now they've got these fucking phones and these weird manipulated social medias, and it's just like
in your pocket all
that's
day.
That's my weakness. You know, I can get rid of the TV and all that other input and YouTube, and I can shut all of that off. But this thing still, you know, you catch yourself. You're waiting for something, or you're doing something, and you're always just gravitating to that phone. And I don't think that's an accident. I think that's because the brightest minds in psychology have been actively working against you for the last 100 years.
I mean, that's the big question in the chat. Like, that is the big question, right? Is where the people are going to draw the line on the vaccines, right? If it does come and they're saying, you know, would they imprison you if you don't take it? I mean, that is the big question. What are they going to do with the anti-vaxxers? That's to me, that's the biggest question.
They're gonna
of this whole thing is, what do you do? Like, I talked to my parents, my mom, my sister, my family, and I said, just so you guys know, like, we have to have this discussion. I'm not participating in this technocratic society. If they want a vaccinate, I'm not going to do it. So I don't know what that means. And I said, I don't know what that looks like. Does that mean I'm run to the hills behind Darren and just, you know, help be Sherpa for Darren for a while? Or do I get something bad happen, right? The camp for adults, you know? But that's the big question.
I don't worry about the camp for adults so much. Not our state is. See, this is where I kind of sympathize with Americans a little bit. And I was like a year ago or 2 years ago, I was actively rallying to move to the States, you know, to Texas or to Oregon. And then COVID happened, and I was like, holy fuck.
Yeah.
And
all that freedom disappeared quick. And not that you couldn't just kind of ignore it to a certain extent down there as well. But then I kind of started looking at state power as being a deciding factor on where I want to be. And, you know, interestingly enough, you talk about the elites all moving to New Zealand and stuff like that. Like, New Zealand's active military is like 4,500 people. So they've got a super, super weak state, and they just took a bunch of people's guns away, and you can see why maybe the elites might want to be there. But that aside, you know, you start looking at Canada, where you got 40,000 active military personnel and, like, you know, 20,000 RCMP. And, you know, after that, you got maybe some city cops here and there, but it's really, there's not a lot of them. And they're fucking spread over a gigantic landmass. And I'm not saying it's impossible but it just seems like you've got more of a head start at the very least. And maybe you find out there's more of you than you think, and you can maybe
muster a bit of a resistance.
You can muster enough of a resistance that it's, maybe you can, who knows? I mean, at this point, all bets are off. You've done something crazy if you're mustering resistance.
If you're at that point, yeah. But I mean, I kind of question his inauthenticity of faking it out, because I feel like that takes something away from the resistance. I mean, if we all went out and faked a note, then they're thinking everybody's complying, but there's a bunch of us that aren't doing it. So do we want to, I guess the strategy is, do you want that to be invisible or visible? I mean,
yeah,
I feel like for me, I just want to be like, I don't want to fly on a plane. I don't care. Like, I'm at the point where, and this is pretty sad, but I don't want to travel. Like, I just want to stay home. And that's not stay home, like,
I'm dying.
Home. But I mean, I'm kind of like, I don't want to, I know it might be, but I just don't even want to go into that environment.
Yep. I don't think I'm ever going to fly again.
See, I want to go into that environment without a mask and be like, fuck you, get out of my way. I'm going to Texas. I'm not wearing a mask. I'm going to shoot some shit and go home.
And that is visible, and you are actually presenting to people a break in the programming, and break in the system, and a break in the pattern.
See, I'd rather do that than fake a note.
But I needed the note to get on the plane without the mask. This is the thing.
But the vaccine thing then will be
but that's
yeah.
Well, this is a different. That to me is you're at a different level, because I think that's unhealthy. So
I'm not doing it.
That's like, I mean, I have my mask argument of unhealthy. I'm to be honest, I don't know either way, but I'm not doing it. But the vaccine, now we're crossing the line. Like, now we're unlocking the gun safe, and now we're having a real conversation, because that shit is not going into me or my kids. Period.
Right. I'm with you.
And
I'm like, well, I guess we're all going to die together then, because you're not coming in here and you're not injecting me.
Yeah, and it just seems to like if you just look at trends, usually the people that do own the guns trend towards the side that probably doesn't want to get weird shit shot into them mandatorily. And then when you start looking at that in Canada versus the States, it's like, we've got a super small state and, 3 million gun owners. So it's like the possibility of mustering a resistance doesn't seem like such a far gone reality
down there in the States.
No, in the States, I don't care how many guns you guys got. If that fucking state turns on you, you're fucked.
Yeah.
You're fucked. If the state turns on you, between the tech and the military, police, and the centralization of power and just the way they've got it built, they will fuck you guys up fast. And I'm not saying Canada won't either. They might have some wild cards.
You just have a better chance. You have way more
face
land.
Value, I've got a head start, even if that is just.
Yeah, but we have no allies up here.
Well, a head start. They got to deal with their own citizens before they come for us. Like I say, it might boil down to a couple of months of knowing shit's going down and having time to get out of Dodge. Where if you're in LA or New York or one of these places, you're not gonna get the heads up you think you need before it's too late. I think, unless you're leaving now, which is happening en masse from a lot of these places. Which is because I think right now is the shot across the bow to get the fuck out of some of these places,
metropolitan areas. It's true.
And I get what he says about the military will go home before they fuck people up, but I mean, it seems like to a certain extent they won't, because I mean, how many videos did we see of cops dragging moms off of playgrounds and everything else? I mean, I maintain the decline of civilization will be carried out by people just doing their jobs,
just like it always has been.
Yeah, and you'll get a few dissenters, but this is the other problem: is when you've got the most powerful state on the planet, even if half of them say, "Nah, I'm going home," you still got a giant problem to contend with.
And all the people who are slowly starving or whatever, in their malaise, and someone comes along and they're like, hey, I'm going to give you all this money if you just go do this and this. They're like, okay, I'll do that. This is like what we saw with the contact tracers as well.
That's where it's different. That's
giant fucking pride.
That's where it's different now. They want the UBI, right? Everybody wants to be a slave right now, just with UBI. And not everybody, of course, but I mean, it seems like it's very enticing for people. Just pay me to stay at home on UBI. This is part of their goal too. Like the Great Reset. Just go for it. Digital currency, UBI. We got you. We got you. Even if the conspiracy about forgiving all debts, I mean, what a perfect way. Hey, forgive all your debt. Here you go. You don't own anything anymore.
Yep.
We pay you to live in this city. And just it's like right out of all the dystopian shows that we see.
I was thinking about it too. So not only are people going to get this chip and get their digital currency and have all their debt forgiven and be like so happy we're finally getting to this golden age or whatever, and they're gonna be like, yeah, here's your house, or like you got to keep your house or whatever. And then like in a year, month, or however long, not very long, they're gonna be like, you need to get out of your house because it's ours, and you need to go live over there. We have this like dirty mattress in this alleyway for you. That's where you live now. Like, or like, oh, you want a toaster? Too bad. You don't get toast slave. Like, you don't have choice anymore. You don't have freedom anymore. And it's like, what you were saying, Darren, like if you're more and more trying to take care of yourself and, live off grid or not, but just as much as you can find ways to create your own food and your own water and your own shelter, and have these skills that you might need, then you make the entire structure obsolete, right? You don't need to rip it down because you just don't use it anymore. And more people might do that. And I think that's kind of the best hope we have, because they definitely seem like they're going to get a lot of people with this global reset Agenda 21 mad rush to the dark winter.
Yeah. And this is the scary thing, is because we're at a point in society where we're like, the worst at setting up boundaries as we've ever been, probably on a personal level for most people. That's true. I feel like this is a time in society where it's time to have some firm boundaries, because shit's been ticking away for 20 years now, since 9/11. And now it's ticking away faster and faster and faster and faster. And that's the argument I was using today, is like, I'm using masks now because it's going to be a shot next year. And I can see where they're going with this. And if I'm deciding to push back now, so I've got my feet dug in and I'm ready for when we get to the next step, because that's where I think it's fucking headed. So
yeah, it seems that way. They wouldn't have made or be talking about making as many doses as they are if they didn't plan on pretty much everyone taking it, and maybe the people who don't take it dying.
So I'd rather, instead, if it's that or get shot, I'll just say, yeah, I got the shot. Here's my paper.
Yeah.
Now I got a few more years to work on my plans of overthrowing the government instead of just being dead.
Yes.
Or in the camp yelling and screaming.
Yeah. I don't have any firm plans except don't take the vaccine. And the rest I'm just going to roll with like fluidly as it happens.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's a big one because they're starting to say you can only have this many people at a funeral, or you can't, UK saying you can't have sex with people you don't live with, or, when is enough going to be enough?
Yeah. You can't have sex with people and you can't see your dying mom. What? Oh, but you can have sex with random people you meet. You just can't have sex with your lover unless you're wearing a mask or something. Like, the rules don't even make any sense. They're all over the place. So,
on purpose, it seems.
Yeah, just to be terrifyingly confusing. It's like that thing where they're like, scream I love you at people because you never know when you're going to die, but do it in German because life is terrifying or something. Like, or whatever it is. I butchered it, but they just want it to be as terrifying and confusing as possible. So what is coming up next for you guys? What do you have going on with the show, or what are you excited about? Or at least also tell people most people here know you guys and know where to find you. But just in case people are listening who have never heard of Grimerica for some weird reason, where they can find you and how they can get hooked up with your guys' awesome show.
Well, we just put out an episode with Foster Gamble of Thrive 2, and that was fantastic. Like, it was really good with all the cancel culture and all this program that we talk about. Yeah. And I'm not saying it's 100%, who knows with this free energy stuff and all, but it really straddled that line of it didn't get polarizing at all. It didn't get political in that way. So it was very refreshing to see something that was just about personal sovereignty and freedom and, matching the unified field, in all aspects. So it was pretty cool like that. And then we have Lauren Coleman. We just did an interview with him, who's like one of the most preeminent cryptozoologists. He's got a museum. He's expanding his crypto museum in Maine. So he's coming out in a week or two. Trying to get Adam Curry from No Agenda on the show. We've been in touch with him a little bit. So those are some of the short-term things, audiobooks and stuff like that. Hopefully in the future, a little bit more.
Cryptozoology is the only crypto that I love.
There you go.
Yeah, Bitcoins are fucked.
All digital currency. Yeah, you can.
Your show with Gary Wayne was awesome. I mean, I think that's part of the thing that, with stuff like that, like I'm interested in the esoteric, the deeper esoteric stuff and the symbolism, and the masks are a part of the satanic rituals. Like that kind of stuff is pretty fascinating. What else?
I got my youngest birthday tomorrow.
Yeah.
Oh, happy birthday.
Birthday tomorrow. I had 3 weekends in a row of slumber parties for my girls. Bunch of birthdays going on. So
that's fun.
Exciting times.
I just have chickens, so
don't tell anyone about the secret gathering.
Yeah.
I have chickens
this is
too.
The true occult. Oh, don't you love them? They're like the silliest, weirdest little creatures. Like you can like fuck with them and do the most insane, weird shit, and they still just look at you and like nothing changes for them.
One has a crush on Graham. They'll come and tap on the glass and look in the window when he's here. But we have a love-hate relationship. Sometimes I hate them. When they're too loud or up on the deck, then I hate them. But I love that they give me eggs every day. So we have a weird relationship. They're smarter than people think, for sure.
They are. I just can't get mine to play the xylophone that we got them. I'm like, you peck everything but that. Why? Just peck it. You'll love it.
Try using scrambled eggs.
Just smear it on there.
Just one on each key.
Oh, that's a good idea. We have it up on the wall, so it's like vertical.
I'll give you a hint. The xylophone is a key to some of Foster Gamble's free energy stuff that he talks about in Thrive. Yeah.
My chickens are going to save the world. I need to watch that. I saw that it came out and then I forgot because I'm just lost in a world of craziness. But I saw that you guys did that episode and I was like, okay, this is awesome. This is going to be
I was surprised how, like, after it's been 9 years or whatever, and I've followed it a little bit. Like, we've always wanted to have him on, but I was surprised how much he was pushing back against globalism and censorship and all that. Like,
wow.
Like the globalist power, like he's really seemed to be genuine about that,
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think sometimes people think anybody with money or anybody with any level of influence or power is corrupt or part of the system. And it is possible that that's true. But that's, again, I think that's the outlier. Like, I think it's much more likely that there's a lot of people who were never part of it. Maybe they were accidentally at some point, but then they were like, wait a second, this is not what I'm all about or whatever. Yeah. So we just have to remember that these people want us to think they're omnipotent and whatever, and they're not. Omniscient, like they're not. They want us to feel that way, but it's not true.
Yeah. And so you can find all our stuff and all the podcast players, the Grimerica show on YouTube, and where else, Darren? Everywhere that they play podcasts. And I'm on our Instagram at Grimerica, and Darren's on the Twitter.
And Grimerica is Grimerica for anybody who didn't know.
If you just type that into Google, it'll be everything. That'll be everything that comes up.
It is the Uber show. It is all things.
Well, it's just a terrible SEO name, so there's nothing else that quite spelt like it or sounds like it. Or
that's a really good reason to have chosen that name.
Billy Harmon.
People that accidentally find your show.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess pluses and minuses. Well, as we're wrapping things up for people, I love to get people from guests your kind of final words of wisdom or your last thoughts that you want to leave people with as we head out.
I think we said it all, or I have. I don't have anything else to say, I don't think. Yeah.
Overstimulation is not awareness.
Nice.
Was it overstimulation? Is that the quote? Or is it just stimulation?
It's your turn.
Be good to people.
There you go.
Yes. I love it. Well, you guys, this has been so much fun. And fellow travelers of the path, it is a beautiful thing. This has been your analog, electric, concentric dose of wisdom, according to D-Ron Darren, the hilarious Darren. Thank you for coming tonight.
Thank you for having me.
And according to Graham, the studious Graham, thank you so much for sharing with us tonight. It's been a pleasure to have you both.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks for having us. Have a good night.
You too. Always a pathway appears, but is it a rabbit hole to truth or a promenade to distraction? Discernment is key, and balance is sometimes hard to find. Some rabbit holes lead to insanity, and some promenades lead to necessary connections and community. Judgment cannot always be leveled right away. We sink in with our feelers out, and we take in enough to ascertain which path we need to travel in any given moment. And along the way, we keep our minds as open as we can, holding the truth we have found thus far in one hand and our other hand open, awaiting the truth that will replace it. So until you master the art of the middle path, travel well, aim for balance, and always look inside first. Mwah.